Plastic thermal stapler, SP2 plus types of staplers. Welcome back. Today I'm going to show you a stapler with thermal staples for plastic. It is a very useful device as you may quickly and easy join the two parts together just before welding or gluing the damage. The stapler's task is to pre-join two parts together, especially when it is hard to access, for example, lamp handles or bumper handles, or where the whole element is cracked and hard to weld or glue or other. It is to help you to join the parts quickly and easy. This way you won't need others to help you or use any types or hold the materials. What's more important, you will need to use pre-welding nozzle, and as you know, when it comes to the thin walls, you will not likely use pre-welding nozzle as it is not designed for that, and I advise you to use the thermal stapler for that. Before we shall move on with the procedure, I will present types of staplers as we already have new staples now, and there are 11 altogether. For a few months we have new ones. Here's a flat wave staple, 0.6 millimeters in dimension, and it lets you to embed it into plastic material, and it is also used there where a larger staple would be impossible or hard to use. Small wave 0.8 millimeters. This one lets you to embed into thicker walls from 3 or more millimeters. A big wave 0.6 millimeters lets you to embed in larger surfaces and thin walls 2 to 3 millimeters. A big wave 0.8 millimeters lets you to embed into thicker walls like 2 or 3 millimeters. The next one is for angular work, as it allows you to embed it into outer bows or corners. This one is used for embedding into inner corners. Here's a large wave staple, 0.8 millimeters wire. It lets you to join thick materials and strong elastic joints. This one is flat staple, 0.8 millimeters in dimension, and lets you to use it hardly accessible spaces, as it is hard working finishing from one of the sides. This one is flat tape 0.8 millimeters and lets you to reach spaces beyond reach or in the vicinity of various grips and others. This one is for outer angles, 0.1 millimeters wire. Can be used for 90 or more degrees angles. This one is double inner corner staple, lets you to join firmer two parts. I have just presented the staples, and now I'm going to unbox the stapler and prepare it for work. It regularly comes with 6 staple bundles that I showed you a moment ago. In the box, you will also find a pair of pincers and a power cord.
Kabel zasilający do zszywarki.
And the stapler itself, of course. There you will enter the power cord, and there's also the main switch above, as you can see. On the other side of the gun, we will find a handle that will be used to embed the staples. And what is the most important, the handle has switch and small holes for the staples to put in various angles. And you may take a staple and put it like this, so you can embed it vertically, or where the place is beyond reach, you may embed the staple at an angle of 90 or 45 degrees, or typically a 90 degrees angle which you won't use in a side wall of a material as it is beyond reach, or you may embed the staple from the bottom side.
Boczną ściankę, jeżeli tutaj wokoło nie mamy miejsca, czy nawet jeżeli jest takie wtopienie od dołu.
What is also important is that the stapler has a lot of power, and you may even use the thicker staples. Additionally, the knob is a switcher. If you want to turn on the device, now it is off. The knob itself has a triple protection from a switching on the device. Only when you turn on the knob, it will start the lower power, and only then you may use a handle to do your job. There you have 3 range power knob. At the lower setting, it is a small staples and 0.6 millimeters thick. In the second position, you will use for 0.6 to 0.08 small wave staples, and also for the smaller staples where the higher temperature is needed and when the walls are thicker, polyamide, for instance. And finally, a third setting is used for the large wave staples, 0.8 millimeters, where the higher temperature is needed. It could also be a polyamide, for instance. To demonstrate the possibilities of the stapler, I have chosen a lamp casing where the usual damages needs to be pre-joined very quickly, as welding itself would be hard here. The damaged parts are the handles. Here is a smaller one, and here is another one completely broken, where the joint is reinforced as it holds the whole lamp in the car. And here, again, a handle that is used for other purposes. Such handles are present in other parts of the car, in bumpers, for example, but the repair procedure will not differ much. It could be a lamp or a bumper, and various damages may occur here. In a moment, I will show you how it is to be repaired. The staple itself has already been on. I switch on the first setting. As it is about 3 millimeters thick, I will use 2 to 3 millimeters staples. It is worth to say that when you have the set desired temperature on the main part of the device, it will not work until you have a staple mounted or a switched pressed. Remember to hold the element prior to embedding. If it is not too flexible, then you will not have to do anything else. If it will not be too flexible, however, remember to prepare it beforehand.
by sprężynował, no to pamiętajcie o tym, że warto taki element wcześniej jednak troszkę wygrzać.
You press the staple towards the surface now. Press the switch on the handle. After the staple is completely immersed in the joint, release the switch and wait a while for it to cool down, and then you will dismount the staple from the handle. Make sure that the staple is perfectly embedded in material. Stay in the middle of the wall.
Wtopiona w powierzchnię powinna zatrzymać się mniej więcej w połowie grubości ścianki.
What I mean is, if you take 2 to 3 millimeters thick wall, then the staple should stop more or less on the depth of 2 millimeters or 1.5.
Na wysokości 1 mm.
If, however, it will pierce the material, you should redo the procedure of embedding or use a smaller staple. In this case, it is not a problem as we have a thin staple, but if you used a large wave staple like 0.8 millimeters, then it would be an issue. For certainty, I will embed yet another staple as the side of the handle wobbles a bit.
Tworzywo, które lekko się trzymało, w zasadzie przy docisku to bez problemu puści.
Make sure to use one staple each side so it won't get damaged easily, or if more, position the staple and press the switch and embed the staple in the material.
Wkładam trzywkę jeszcze raz, wciskam, najpierw pozycjonuję i dopiero wciskam przycisk, delikatnie wtapiając. Nie ustawiam tutaj temperatury tej mocy wyższej z tego względu,
because it would melt the wall, go through easily.
ścianki i nie przejść po prostu na wylot.
Here I am also going to use a staple for places beyond reach.
Zszywkę do utrudnionych miejsc.
Besides, it is not necessary to use it here. I will demonstrate how it is to be embedded. Due to the fact that the staple is 0.8 millimeters thick, I have to set the staple a bit higher. I will demonstrate it on the example of the regular reinforcement here. Due to the shape of the element, the staple will embed it nicely here.
Bardzo ładnie nam się zatopi.
Now I'm going to join the other handle. As you can see, the wall is thicker here, and therefore I'm going to use a small 0.8 millimeters wave staple. I have already set the stapler to the second position and start the embedding. First, I have to match the elements. The staple has just been embedded. Due to the fact that the handle is a rather large one and it could easily be broken while assembling in the car, I will embed one more, as one is not enough. After it cools down, the wire itself needs to be shortened. And remember that during shortening, hold the remain wire so it won't shoot you in the eye.
Palcem lub po prostu nie kierować tego w kierunku oczu.
And of course, use the protective glasses here. The same will be repeated with the first handle.
W pierwszym uchwycie.
You may leave the wire as long as it doesn't bother you from welding or other work. Such staple elements are enough for further work as welding or gluing, or you may also mill the surface if you like, and you're free to go with the welding or gluing. You have to bear in mind, however, that the stapler isn't an ultimate tool for joining, and you cannot leave it as it is, since it will break easily. Always remember to weld the brittle with a binder or apply some glue on the surface. It is to be done to protect it from brittle. If you leave the stapled element like this, it may not hold for long, 2 weeks or a month. Therefore, the stapler is good before you weld or glue, and should not be treated as the substitution of welding and gluing. The good thing about the staples is that they scaffold the elements when joined. So don't use the stapler as the only tool to join the elements, as it is just for scaffolding only and can be used before welding or gluing. As you saw, the stapler is a very useful tool, especially when you don't have anybody around or don't want to use staples or more advanced way with a pre-welding nozzle. Always remember to use other techniques after the stapling. As you could see, we have used PP material element with addition of glass fiber and talc or chalk as a filler. Make sure to see the next one, where you're going to see how the elements are welded, and we're going to use glue as well.
Dziękuję.